having somebody to vouch for you internally. I get this all the time. Candidates who are at that level where they're ready for the next step, they're like, been in sales for a long time, now I want to be in management. And I'm like, to be honest with you, you should be trying to get that internally, because for you to go and apply to a role at, let's say, an external company that you've not worked at before, that's going to be extremely challenging when you've not had the leadership experience before to make that jump.
Back on Finding Pharma, where your career trajectory is our priority. In this episode, we're navigating the crossroads of career decisions in the pharmaceutical world. From the dreaded salary negotiations to strategic moves, we're here with a top recruiter, Molly Gunn, to help guide you through. Whether you're a big fish considering a small pond or vice versa, this is the advice you need to hear. And watch to the very end as Molly drops a truth bomb that will shock you. A quick disclaimer before we start: the views expressed in this interview are solely those of myself and our guest. They do not reflect the views or official stance of our employers. Our guests have not been compensated for their participation in the interview, and any discussion is purely for educational purposes only. Steve in Sydney.
Yeah.
So his question is around when looking at new opportunities.
Yeah.
In particular, it's around, how do you decide between going to a smaller company, smaller maybe pharmaceutical company,
Yeah.
might be higher pay, flatter structure, potentially less opportunities for growth, versus your traditional big pharma, pays not as great, but there's quite defined, we've got a leadership program for you to get into.
Yeah.
How should candidates, this is maybe more they've had a few years experience.
Okay, so
how
this
should,
is an experience.
how
okay.
should they?
All right, well, I'll flip it and say, yes, big pharma is great. There's a lot of opportunities there. Obviously, like you said, there's clear defined roles, there's structures, everything is in place, but there's a lot of competition, right? So yes, there's definitely going to be opportunities that come up, but when you're in a big pharmaceutical company, there's so many other people within the business competing for the same talent, both externally and internally as well, right? So naturally in big pharma, there's a lot of competition for roles. So to move cross-functionally into, let's say, for example, you've gone from sales into marketing, that's not actually that easy of a transition, whether you're in a big pharma company or a small. So I think it's really hard to say, oh, you should go with this one because of this. It's more, what I would say is, look at the company that you're interviewing with, whether they're small or large. You definitely want to see if there is those opportunities to progress, but look at previous people within the business. So if it's a small company, look at has this person moved from that into this, or have they progressed in their career? So I would be looking at the org chart within that business to see if that's something that people have done previously. Because I would also say on the flip side that actually in a smaller company, you wear many hats, you get exposure to a lot more than you would do in big pharma, where the roles typically are quite siloed. So you might actually be able to learn a lot more in a small company than you do in a big pharma company. But then on the flip side, you've got people in big pharma who can support you. So it's really hard to say based on career progression whether to go with small or large. I would probably focus more on what are the products, what are the people like, who are the leaders within the business, can I learn from that person, can I work with that person as well, because we work 5 out of 7 days a week, sometimes even more. So we want to make sure that we can work with the people that we are with for what I think I wrote about it on LinkedIn last week, 23% of our week is at work, probably more. So I think those are the most important things. Are their values aligned to my values as a company? Is the science that they're working with, is that in line with what I'm interested in? That's what I would be focusing on. Salary is important, but it's not the be all and end all. And I would say all day, every day, I'd much rather work in a company that had a good culture, had a good leader. I might get 10k less on the base, but I know that I enjoy what I do and the stuff that I work with, and also there is opportunities to progress as well. So that's a bit of a hard one. I think that every single role you should sit down and explore all of the pros and cons of both, whether it's small or large.
Yep.
So that one's a hard one for me to answer.
Great advice. I think what I took from that, what I really like, is when you talked about look at what's been done in the past.
Yeah.
So look at other leaders and how they made different moves, and that kind of past performance is a predictor for future.
Well, there's a role I'm recruiting for at the moment, as an example. It's a girl who's been in marketing for maybe 6 or 7 years now. Just recently promoted into a senior product manager role. So when I'm recruiting to replace her, which is a more junior position, I'm like, look at this person. It's a small company, but she's gone from that to that in 2 years. Yeah. If she was in a big pharma company, I don't know if you would get the chance to move that quickly. Yeah. And like I said, again, from a skill set perspective, what you do as a senior product manager in a small pharma company, there's a lot more scope there versus senior product manager in big pharma when it's quite a solid role. So I think you have to just look at both.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer. What career development strategies do you have for early career professionals in terms of, when they're trying to build out their career more like with that long-term view? How should they think about, all right, I should do sales for 2-3 years and then I should go into sales management? Because there is those kind of pathways.
There's so many different pathways, isn't there? It's like, if you're in sales, do you go down the route of like HSR, key account manager, sales manager, like, do you know what I mean? Or do you try and go cross-functionally and then go from sales into marketing, or from sales into medical, or from medical into marketing? Actually, you wouldn't really necessarily go from medical into marketing, but probably the other way. I think it's really important to build really strong internal stakeholder relationships, right? So that's the biggest thing. Having somebody to vouch for you internally. I get this all the time. Candidates who are at that level where they're ready for the next step, they're like, I've been in sales for a long time, now I want to be in management. And I'm like, to be honest with you, you should be trying to get that internally.
Yes.
Like, that is something that you should be trying to do within the business that you're in already. Because for you to go and apply to a role at, let's say, an external company that you've not worked at before, that's going to be extremely challenging when you've not had the leadership experience before to make that jump.
Yes.
There will be companies out there that you can, but I personally think from a career development perspective, try to do that internally in the business that you're in.
Yeah.
So that might be, just speaking to other people in different departments, building a network with them, asking for project-based work. So I don't know if you did that when you were in sales. Yeah, right. So you're like, can I please have some sort of marketing stuff that I can do? That's really good.
Yeah, I had the same thing. I was like, I'm really experienced in sales. I want to try marketing. Did speak to a few recruiters, like, just stay put, because to be honest, David,
it's hard.
They're not going to take a big risk on a rookie, versus internally, they know your work ethic. Like we said, just get in, and they're like, oh, this guy works hard. He's got some business acumen to him. So let's give him some marketing projects. And that's how I met Robin. And then now I'm in marketing. So.
Yeah. So I think definitely utilising that internal network, really, really important. Speaking to people who are already doing the role, maybe speaking to them and saying, like, is there anything worth me doing, like extra marketing qualifications or leadership qualifications? And all that is definitely relevant, but you can't beat somebody vouching for you internally, or somebody saying, hey, I spoke to David last week, he said he wants to do a bit of marketing, can we give him some project-based work? Like, easy. And then you start to build that up, and then hopefully when something comes up, it's like, you might not necessarily get the first one, but you get a shot in the interview process, and you learn from that. So I think internal all day, every day.
Great advice. Internal advocacy.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're enjoying this content, smash that subscribe button. If not, press it gently, because it's also had a long day. Great golden nugget of wisdom. So in your experience, what qualities tend to predict success in the pharmaceutical industry? And this could be, some of the more senior guys where you've seen, whoa, this guy's super impressive, or this lady's killing it. Yeah.
Passion. Definitely passion. I mean, like I said to you earlier, we spend so much of our time at work. You need to be passionate about what you do. Drive and dedication. Resilience. I mean, I could probably list off 50, but they're probably my top ones.
Yeah.
Just being a good person. Genuinely. We're in the business of saving lives, right? So being a good person should be at the forefront of everything that you do. It goes back to that humility piece. But yeah, definitely passion, drive, just wanting to be successful.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, last question before we get onto a bit of fun. How do we answer the dreaded salary question around, what's your base salary? Because often you get asked, and some people, it can be a confronting question.
Yes. Okay, so I think the way when you work with a recruiter probably work differently to how you would work directly with a company, in my opinion, personally, because we're here to help you. We're going to have those difficult conversations. We're going to negotiate for you. There's a book, what is it called now, that I'm reading at the moment? It's a Chris Voss book. Let me get back to you on what that is. I'm reading it right now. It's about negotiating.
Okay.
If you're negotiating with a company directly, it's probably a bit different to how you'd work with a recruiter. But I do ask every single candidate that I work with, what's your salary now, and what are your expectations? And they could be on 20k less than what their expectations are, which is absolutely fine. I'll represent them for the salary that they're aiming to achieve, but we have to have clear reasons as, potentially why this person's not being paid that right now, or why they feel that they should be paid that. So when you're negotiating salary, you want to think about, what value am I adding to the role? What am I going to bring to the role? Am I going to demonstrate an extra 20k salary by saying this? So when you work with a recruiter, they will want to know your package. Like, I want to know everything. I want to know what's your base, what's your super, what's your car allowance, what bonus are you on? What health benefits do you have? Do you have insurance? Because I don't want to get you an offer where it all sounds great, and then you turn around at the end of the process, you're like, oh, but hang on, I've got 5k health insurance that I'm not getting in this role, and that's actually really important to me. And I'm like, oh, I could have known about this ages ago.
Tell me up front.
So that's why it's really important, because we don't want to get you an offer that you're not going to be shouting over like, oh my God, I'm so excited. Yeah. That's what we want, right? When you get to the end of a process, we want to deliver an offer to a candidate and for everything to be just smooth sailing. Yep. You want to make sure that they're happy with every single part. So often when I'm working with candidates, I'll speak to them about the salary nearly every time. Has anything changed since we last spoke about your salary? Yeah. No? Okay, fine. This is what we're aiming for. So I think the reason why you need to be really upfront and honest with your recruiter is because we're here to help you, and we want to make sure that we get you the best package that we can. When you work with a company, it can be different. So if I were you, I would probably, if you're negotiating with a company, well, let's not say negotiating, let's say you're deciding to apply for a role and your first point of contact is with talent acquisition or HR. I would probably be just trying to figure out what is the actual salary that they can work with, because again, you don't want to get to the end of the process and they say, oh, but our budget is only 110 and you want 130. Yeah. So I think being really upfront and honest and transparent about what you're on and what you're wanting. I'll give you an example. I had a candidate who wanted X in a salary perspective. I asked what their salary was and they slightly said it was higher than what it was, which you can have quite a bit often in sales. But one of our partners does reference checks, and as part of the reference check, your pay slips are asked for.
Oh, okay.
So now I've said, oh, this candidate is on this. They've spoke about the salary in the actual interview setting, and they're like, oh, that candidate's not on that. Yeah. But they told us they were, and now we've seen the pay slips, and there was hesitancy even sending the pay slips in the first place. So now it looks like, oh, you've just hidden that information, when really you could have just said, I'm on this, but I want this. Yeah. And this is why. Long story short, they didn't get offered the role because the company was like, well, if they're going to not be truthful about that, what else might come out in the future?
That's a great example. Like, I think there's a pressure, for candidates to say, all right, this is probably my golden ticket to get a pay rise. So they do inflate it, but also like they might have that internal like, oh, I know I'm lying, but if I don't, they won't offer it. Yeah, because otherwise they're like, what I'm after.
And I absolutely get it. And I think everyone, if you're in sales, you should be negotiating your salary. You should, but do it in a way that's open, honest, transparent, and if you feel like you're being underpaid or you feel like you deserve more in your salary, then you just need to have reasons to back it up why. Now that I've told you that partners will check pay slips, and I've had another one that's come through yesterday asking for recent pay slips, it's important that you tell the truth. Yeah. I think that's a bit of a controversial conversation, because a lot of people will be like, but why does it matter what I'm on now? And I get it. I definitely understand that. But this is big pharma. This is how it is. This is the way that they work as part of reference checking. That can be a part of the process, and that is just how it is. And so you just have to, it is what it is type thing. When you work with recruiters, we'll know obviously what the process is in terms of reference checking and stuff, so we can guide you on all of that. I always recommend candidates to work with recruiters as much as you possibly can, because we do all that salary negotiating stuff that you don't want to have to do. So yeah,
I agree.
Oh, I remember the book.
Yes.
Never Split the Difference.
Yep.
Have you heard of it?
Brilliant book.
Yeah. I'm midway through now and I'm like, oh my God, I should have used the DJ voice. But yeah, no, that's definitely something that you should read. Yeah. I think anyone in sales, actually, to be honest with you, anyone should read that book, because we negotiate every single day. Yes. Like every single day. Yeah. So but if people want to speak to me about how do I navigate through this, even if I don't have them in the process for a role, you can always call me, and I'm always happy to help about how you should tackle this situation and how you should go about this situation. I had a candidate do that last week. I've just been offered this role at this salary, my experience, what do you think? And I'm like, I wouldn't take that if I were you. Yeah, right. Like, okay. I'll have candidates that will ring me and ask me stuff like that, and I'll say no, because we know what the market is, and that's massively under what the market is paying. So just ring me if you need help with that sort of stuff. Yeah, brilliant. And actually, to that point, you're an expert in the field. You've achieved so much and built, out departments and things like that. What's the best way for the audience to reach out to you? Is it LinkedIn, call? Not LinkedIn. Not LinkedIn. Because I get so many messages on there. Oh God, it's really hard for me to say what's the best method of contact for me. You can have a multifaceted approach. Just hound me. I will eventually get back to you. I try my best to get back to everyone. It's really hard, and I think people don't realise that when they, recruiters get a bad rap, right? You will know. Everyone says, oh, they ghosted me, they never got back to me. I will never ghost a candidate. Yeah. But it's physically impossible for me to get back to every single person that I speak to. It's genuinely impossible, right? Yeah. However, LinkedIn, I will eventually see it at some point. It just might take me a bit longer, because I actively I'll go out and I'll be sending messages out to candidates. So not only am I getting responses from that, I'm then also getting not bombarded, but a lot. Phone call. I'm a phone person, so you can always call me, and email. Even though I get a lot, if it's not coming through Seek or one of the job boards, I'll read it and I'll be like, is this person relevant to me? But also, like, as an example, if you've got a mate that you know is looking for work, get them to say it. I'm David's mate. He told me to call you. And I'll be like, it's David's friend. I've got to speak to him now.
That's the secret word.
Yeah. So I'll get loads of messages saying, David told me to speak to you. It's really hard. It's something that I learned to sort of be able to be okay with, the fact that I can't get back to everyone. Like, it's something that has taken me 4 or 5 years now to be like, I realistically can't get back to everyone. I would be working probably every single day for more than 12 hours to speak to everyone. So, actually, I've got a good one for you. Send me a voice note.
Okay.
On LinkedIn.
Yep.
Send me a voice note on LinkedIn.
Okay, voice notes.
I do like a voice note. So yeah, look, I'll eventually get back to people when I can, but it is challenging. Especially now, since I sort of said to you, I don't necessarily recruit the more junior roles anymore. It's more senior stuff. So I don't know how. I can still give people advice, but I wouldn't really be working on roles that might help people looking to get in. In medical, it's different, but more like GP sales roles. I don't really recruit them anymore. So.
Okay. Thank you for taking us into the inner sanctum and how busy the world is. So like, because I think maybe we're like, we've just been ghosted. That recruiter's an ass. But no, they're just
really
busy.
Hard.
It's
really
busy.
hard. And like,
people.
I try my best. I hate not getting back to people, and I will, if I don't get back to someone, I'm so sorry I didn't get back to you for a few days, and I'll own it. I'll be like, I really just didn't have the time, or I was bombarded. But I think when you're working with recruiters, it is just to be mindful of the volume of reach outs that we get. And so kind of using people that, like you, for example, or, other people that would say, can you help me get in touch with Molly? You just drop me a text and say, my friend wants to speak to you. And I'll say, okay, fine. And I'll try and find a few minutes out of my day to speak to somebody. I try as best as I can. Yeah,
brilliant. Thank you. We appreciate everything that you do for us. So thank you. Now, last question for a bit of fun.
Right.
If you were a pharmaceutical drug, what would your warning label say?
This is the one. Oh, God. Okay. Shake before use. Shake well before use. No, I'm only joking. God, what would we say? Proceed with caution wouldn't really be on the back of the truck.
So you're a liquid formulation, if it's shake well before it,
yeah. So shake well before use, like wake me up in the morning, shake me well, and then I'll be grand. Take half a dose.
Yeah, potent, you're potent. I like it, I like it.
That will be mine. What about you?
I'd say warning gives you insane energy. So like an energy drink.
So, okay, so
something
that's the same
along
as mine.
something like that.
That's why I said proceed with caution or take half a dose.
Take first thing in the morning.
Maybe ours should be the same then. Take half a dose.
Or do not take before bed.
Yeah. Don't take
You're
before
not going to
bed.
sleep otherwise.
You will not sleep. That is so funny. I love that question.
Yeah, so thank you so much for making time and coming onto the channel.
Good. It was so fun.
We've come to the end of our journey through strategic decisions shaping your future pharma career. But it doesn't have to stop here. Click here if you want to learn more about the inspiring career journeys of senior thought leaders in our industry.